All right, we're gonna address the elephant in the room, the thing you guys have all been asking and we haven't known how to answer.
It's not an easy answer.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites to marketing tools, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform for building an online presence.
Courtney's got her hiking flip-flops on. She's ready for an adventure.
I have my hiking romper on. No, I'm following the donkey hooves. Look! Are we gonna get to see wild burros?
And what is this footprint? Coyote? I'm going coyote.
Who says you can't find shade in the desert? Can you touch it to see how fresh it is?
Absolutely not. How the heck does that bird land in a choyo?
Do we find the donkeys or do they find us?
I think they have to find us. I think they know how to hide better than us. Don't fall in that.
Good to say I told you so. Can you remove it?
Perhaps hiking flip-flops are not the best idea.
Ah! I'm just kidding.
Courtney.
Didn't hurt that bad.
I don't know how they do it, but those choyo cactus like stick into you and are so hard to get out.
I fully acknowledge I shouldn't be hiking in flip-flops. I got really excited by the burros. This is my water pocket. This is my phone pocket.
Where do your snacks go?
It's my snack pocket. No,
that's not a big enough snack pocket.
My snack pocket.
Those aren't big enough either.
Oh, maybe this is a snack pocket?
I think so.
Cheers to an epic campsite. All right, we're gonna address the elephant in the room, the thing you guys have all been asking and we haven't known how to answer.
It's not an easy answer.
It's easy on our channel to share what we're doing with you. It's a lot harder to share about us.
So the question is, how can we afford to do all this? The short answer is a lot of hard work.
And for years, it felt like we were getting nowhere. Thought our lives were always gonna be eating rice and living in a camper in the Walmart parking lot.
But we'll start at the beginning.
We met in college through the collegiate off-road club called the Polygoats. Neither of us had really been into off-roading at all before we went to college, but we both got hooked immediately. We found this group of people who spent every waking moment breaking their rigs and then fixing them, and it was very addicting.
I was immediately amazed at the number of skills the upperclassmen had acquired during their time at the Polygoats.
I was at Cal Poly for animal science.
And I went to school for manufacturing engineering. Out of school, I felt a lot of pressure to put my degree to work, but I just didn't enjoy any of the jobs I had had up until that point. And Courtney actually approached me with the idea of, well, let's turn our hobby into our business and let's start an off-road shop. And I was all in.
We were not even remotely qualified to be doing that, but we decided to learn as we go, and that's how we started Trail Tested.
So we sold 2 cars, a truck camper and a rock crawler, signed the lease on a building.
Took out a business loan.
We didn't have any customers yet, and we didn't know how we were gonna pay the 3rd month's rent on the shop space, but we got straight to work.
And we did that. Oh, that was a big bug.
Me too.
We did that for quite a while, and we learned that, for me at least, that it was the custom fabrication that I really enjoyed, and the design. And so Riley approached me about buying a plasma table, which I didn't even know what that was at the time. And then he told me it was $12,000, and I said no.
I felt like we needed a way to automate at least some of the work we were doing.
But that was so much money. I couldn't wrap my mind around how borrowing $12,000 when we didn't even know if we were gonna be able to pay rent that month.
But I convinced her, and we took out a loan, and we flew up to Bend, Oregon, and picked up our Arclight Dynamics table. One of the hardest parts of starting our small business for me was the pressure that I put on myself to be successful at it. That meant that I felt like we could never, ever take a break.
For the first few years, the only time we would take maybe not even a whole day off of work was for a wedding or Christmas or Thanksgiving. And really, other than that, we just worked and worked and worked. And it was fun. It was really fun, and we learned a lot, but we did get burnt out.
So I think it was sometime in the third year of running Trail Tested, I went south for my brother's bachelor party, where we stayed at an Airbnb that was obvious to me it was somebody's home during the week. And I texted Courtney about it.
We didn't own our house. My parents actually owned the house that we were renting in, so I had to convince them to let us Airbnb it, but the deal was that we would do all the maintenance on the house, we'd fix it up, and do some improvements in exchange for being allowed to Airbnb it out.
And I think we got a booking that very next weekend.
That was the terrifying moment for me. Making the listing, taking the photos, all of that was easy, but then when someone had actually signed up to stay in our house, that was when I realized this is kind of weird.
So we packed up the truck with some sleeping bags and sleeping mats, and we headed down to the shop, and we spent our first night in the shop.
The shop had a bathroom, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. Didn't have a kitchen or anything. We did that for a while, and it pretty quickly became a no-brainer because we had figured out how other people were paying our rent and subsidizing a lot of what we were doing.
And so for the first time since starting our own business, it finally felt like we had a little bit of spending money, and it took a lot of pressure off of us to perform.
And we reinvested all of that money that we were making off of Airbnb into tools and equipment for the shop.
Soon after that, we bought our first van, which was our first experience building out a vehicle to live out of.
We liked the van because it meant on weekends we could be stealth camping at friends' houses.
It also meant that we didn't have to sleep in the shop every weekend anymore.
We built out the first van and we used it for a few weeks. And then I think we both looked at each other and realized that we could probably sell it for a profit. So we sold it. And then we had nowhere to live on weekends again.
Back to sleeping in the shop. So we bought another van and built it out. And then we sold it.
And then we bought another van. No, we didn't. Did we buy another van?
Then we had the express van, yeah. One more van after that. We'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. When we started Trail Tested Manufacturing, we found out just how important having an online presence was. And these days, just having a website isn't enough. We quickly realized we needed to be optimized for mobile, monitor inventory, and track all of our sales data.
Squarespace has all of the tools needed to get your business off the ground. With features like inventory management, mobile optimization, and secure payments, Squarespace is the perfect platform for promoting our business. Step 1 was buying our domain, which was incredibly simple. There are no hidden fees, and each domain comes with an ad-free parking page.
So check out squarespace.com/ambition strikes.
And you'll save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And again, a huge thanks to Squarespace for making this video possible. I really felt like, well, our business can't be successful until we have zero debt. And I don't know that that was a great way to think about it because I think I put too much stress on myself at some points. At that point, we had moved from a 1,000 square foot shop to a 2,400 square foot shop, which came with significantly higher rent, but it felt like the next step in what we were doing. It felt like, well, if our business is growing, we must need more space.
It also meant that we could work on 2 vehicles at a time instead of 1. That didn't make us twice as good. It just meant that our rent was twice as expensive and we had to work twice as hard. And at this point, I was so burnt out that I didn't even want to touch Jeeps anymore. We no longer had personal projects that we worked on. We no longer went on off-road trips. It was just work on Jeep after van after Jeep after van.
We definitely burnt ourselves out, and I think we probably lost some friendships over it. It was a lot. It was a lot, and it wasn't fun anymore.
At this point in our story, we'd also picked up a few customers that we did regular work for, and we kind of realized that we could way downsize into a 2-car garage, keep those few customers, and stop doing the custom work. And so we did just that. We moved out of the shop, we moved into the 2-car garage of the house we were renting, that we also Airbnb'd.
We sold quite a bit of equipment, and at that point, any extra money I was putting straight to the business loan to pay it off. We were engaged at that point, and my goal that I set for myself was that I wanted to pay that loan off before we got married.
A few awesome opportunities came our way with those customers we've been working with. We were able to bust out a huge amount of work in a short period of time.
With no overhead, because we were just working out of a 2-car garage.
Which pretty much meant all the work was finally going straight into our pocket, and we were able to pay off all the debt we had accumulated and even save enough for a down payment on a house.
It started as we were buying a house for us, and it quickly, just like everything we do, turned into a business venture. But we found a property, the foundation was super damaged. It ended up being the cheapest house in the entire county at the time. And we bought it. It was literally cracked in half. I mean, one of the bedrooms, you would walk from one side of this tiny little bedroom to the other, and it dropped 4 inches.
Like everything we do, we knew nothing about working on houses. We did hire a foundation contractor to come in and professionally do a repair on the foundation. But from there, Courtney and I took the reins and did a whole bunch of drywall repair work, kitchen, bathroom remodels, repainted the entire house, a bunch of landscaping, and within 5 or 6 months, we had a really nice house.
While we were in escrow on the house, I was so excited about the remodel, and I was watching DIY Network just to get inspiration, and I watched this show called First Time Flippers. And at the end of the show, there was this little text, and it said, "Oh, we're now casting for the next season. Apply here."
I'm like, yeah, right. They are not going to cast us. Next thing I know, I'm on a phone interview talking to the producers of the show. 2 months later, they flew out and filmed the first day of us working on our house together.
5 days of filming total. It was a very interesting experience.
It made us realize that if we ever had a TV show, we wanted it to be something that we produced ourselves.
It was really fun, but I think there's a certain type of reality TV that sells well, and I don't think that we fit into that category very well. I remember watching the premiere at a friend's winery and just watching us on the TV like, oh my gosh, they put us on a television?
Look at those kids. They have no idea what they're doing.
That house ended up, as we were renovating it, we decided to sell it. The market was doing really well at the time, and we'd had so much fun fixing it up that I think we were like, oh, we could do this again.
Let's do another one.
We listed the house, and we ended up selling it for enough that we felt like we could do it again. We're having fun talking about it now, but I do want to touch on the fact that at the time that was the most stressful thing I've ever done. It was really scary having this house with a relatively high interest rate. It was a risky investment. It was scary. It was really, really scary.
Right about the time we listed that house, we also got married.
That was a stressful year. Between moving, the business, and getting engaged and getting married. And weddings are incredibly expensive, and we are both so frugal. And so that leads us to our next business venture. I think we're going to tell you about the next chapter of our lives while we go on a hike, because this weather is amazing, and so is this campsite. Let's go. At that point, I think we'd been dating 6 years, and Riley was feeling the pressure.
But I had no idea how to do that, and when I don't know how to do something, I tend to just avoid the subject. But it was starting to get to the point where, like, you know, I had to make a move. I had to lock Courtney down. So I bought a ring. We were home for Christmas. I wasn't really sure if I was going to propose to Courtney or not. That ring was burning a hole in my pocket. I don't even think I'd owned it for more than 24 hours by the time I'd asked Courtney to marry me. And she said no.
He's kidding. We're married. He's kidding.
And we had a great Christmas celebrating with our entire family.
This is like a borough highway. We were super excited about being engaged until we realized how much a wedding was going to cost. We started adding everything up. That's where our next business venture comes in.
So in the middle of all those first home renovations and fabrication projects, we threw a whole nother wrench into the mix.
We were looking for ways to save money during our wedding, and one of the biggest costs that seemed ridiculous to me was renting tables and chairs.
For the same price, we were able to build a whole bunch of tables and collect a whole bunch of dining chairs.
Riley, painted all 150 chairs white, so they were kind of mismatched, but all the same color. It came out amazing, and I think someone at the wedding said, oh, you should rent those out. And so we started a wedding rental business.
We bought a box truck and we did 10 weddings that very same summer.
That was a very profitable venture for us. It was also very stressful and very time consuming, and we knew we didn't want to do it forever, so that at the end of that wedding season, we sold all of the tables and chairs to other wedding rental businesses.
And best of all, I was married.
Is that the best thing? You sound relieved.
Truthfully, I was a bit relieved. We need to go explore those rocks.
They're big rocks.
I'm looking at all these crazy rocks. This one's like black, gray, speckled.
The deal was I was gonna have to plan a wedding and Riley was gonna get to plan the honeymoon.
And I wanted to go on an epic truck camper mountain biking trip with no plan and no pressure.
I don't do well with no plan, but I liked the no pressure part. At this point, we had not really taken any time off of work in 5 years, 6 years. And so we were both so excited.
So we blocked out 6 weeks. We bought a truck and a camper, put our mountain bikes on the front, loaded up the dogs, and took off.
It was a pop-up Palomino camper. It was a summer trip. It was absolutely amazing. We rode our bikes every single day.
We cut our trip short because we found another house that we wanted to buy.
We ended up, the day we got back, we looked at it and we put an offer in. We were still doing fabrication out of the 2-car garage. We were pretty choosy with the clients that we worked with, and it was at that point when we went back and looked at the books and we had paid for our plasma table time and time again from those jobs. And that was the point where I no longer, what?
I'm just laughing about how those conversations went from the beginning to the end, where it was like, this is the scariest thing we've done, to like, I'm so glad we did this.
We had paid for the plasma table so many times, and that had, the income from that table had allowed us to do so many other things, like buy those first 2 flip houses. Our second house flip felt like it went a lot smoother. I think we kind of knew what we were getting into. We had a lot more of the proper tools and a lot more of the knowledge. That was a house that had been smoked in, and that was nasty.
We were aggressive with our time frame. We worked and worked and worked.
Living in that second flip house really took a toll on me, and I think that was the point when I decided I didn't want to do that again. And so we were looking into alternative living situations so that we could keep Airbnb-ing out the main house.
So we invested in ourselves and built a shipping container house so that we could live comfortably and continue doing these kinds of projects that we loved.
By this point, COVID had hit, and a lot of our clients shut their doors, put their orders on hold, and we were standing there figuring out what the heck our next thing was going to be. We had done another flip house that we did not do very well on, and I think that was the point where we decided the stress of flipping houses was not a great long-term solution. Flipping a house is very fun, it's very rewarding, and it's equally the most stressful thing I've ever done.
We can control a lot about flipping houses, but we have no control over the market or the buyers.
And we didn't want to get caught with our pants down again. It's funny because I'm wearing a romper and I can't take my pants down.
So I was craving to continue that honeymoon trip that we never really got to finish.
And I was too. I just didn't know how we were going to justify spending money and taking time off work.
But at this point, I didn't even care anymore, and I just said, nope, we're doing it. And Courtney jumped in feet first and said, okay, we're doing it.
We had lived in the shipping container house for about a year at that point, and we had been saving every penny we possibly could for our dream build.
We already owned the Ram truck, and I got started dreaming up ideas on how to convert it into our version of the ultimate full-time rig.
The planning part was actually pretty easy, but it was the day that we took the bed off the truck that was when it really hit me that we were doing it.
Getting started was absolutely the hardest part for me.
We had saved up enough money to build the camper with a tight budget of $20,000. That was it. That's all we could spend. And we'd saved up enough money to ski all winter.
So at this point, we're pretty much caught up with you guys and where you joined our journey.
We had no plans of doing YouTube full time. It started as a way for us to share the build of the camper with our friends and family. The first few build videos were very simple. I was out there with a GoPro following Riley around because he wasn't really convinced yet that making videos was worth the effort.
A lot of times I would come in from doing something and Courtney would go, did you film any of that? No.
I had just gotten corrective eye surgery, and so for the first part of the build, I was pretty much locked up in the house, and that's when I started teaching myself how to edit videos. As the camper build progressed, we started watching our YouTube channel grow.
And then over Christmas, it just like exploded.
We were able to turn on monetization, and I remember our first paycheck was like $6, and it was exhilarating.
And for the first time, I was fully on board with YouTube because I'm like, whoa, all that time input actually can be worth it.
It is so time consuming making videos, and I know it looks fun and easy, and that those first few months were really hard because we were working all day on the build and then I was working all evening editing, and I was kind of wondering why. And then you guys pulled through, and we have the most amazing tribe of people who have supported us in this last year.
At this point, I can't really imagine building without an audience to share it with. It is just so fun to have people that ask questions and cheer us on and keep us accountable. And
I would tell people we were going to travel for 6 months.
I was telling them a year to forever.
We actually did find out that we don't want to travel full time.
I really crave the creative outlet of building, and during full-time travel, I missed that.
We traveled to North Idaho. We fell absolutely in love with it. We bought bare land, and we are now building off-grid. That has been a dream of ours for so long, and the only reason that it's happening is because of you guys.
So we were feeling so confident in our YouTube channel and in our followers.
Well, maybe you were. I was terrified.
That we took all of the capital that we've been working for years to earn and invested it straight into the property.
And an army truck and an excavator. We spent every penny we had. We went all in this year on our off-grid property in the hopes that we could sustain it, and it's working.
We sold our shipping container house to get the funds to start building the shop.
The scariest purchase this year for us has been the excavator. It didn't actually require much of a commitment other than signing some papers because Kubota did have 0 down, 0% interest. So I know a lot of you have said, well, how can you afford the excavator? We couldn't. They just gave us one anyways.
We are so glad we bought that piece of equipment. If we hadn't, we would not be anywhere near where we are today.
He wants to know if I'm coming up there, and the answer is no. The answer is that we're not rich, we didn't win the lottery, just like probably all of you guys. We've been working our butts off for years to make our dreams happen, and there's a stroke of luck in there because we found you guys.
And we're not afraid of failure anymore, and we're not afraid...
Whoa, speak for yourself.
I'm still afraid of failure.
I'm terrified of failure.
But we decided that we wanted to pursue this fulfilling life, and the only way to do it was to take the plunge and make it happen.
This has been the most amazing year of my life, hands down. I cannot believe everything that has happened. The last 6 years have been really stressful for us. I think it's been hard on our relationship at points. Money has been the #1 factor in everything that we have done, and it will be forever. And so I think that that's why we felt like we needed to talk about it with you guys.
So I hope that helps shed some light on how we can afford to do what we're doing.
And I really do want to touch on the fact that we are here because of both of our parents. They have been so supportive of us and encouraging us and lending us money and traveling with us. And I mean, the number of ways that our families have helped us get to this point, we couldn't have done it without them.
Every time I'm feeling like we've gotten backed into a corner and we don't know what to do next, I just call my parents and they somehow figure out how to help us make it happen.
And other people, friends and other family. I mean, everyone has just supported us on this journey. And I hope it's only the beginning. I really do.
As far as how we know how to do all this stuff, we're just faking it till we make it.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. We cannot wait for the next year. We have some really big plans starting in a few weeks, and we can't wait to take you on the next chapter with us. I had no idea we were gonna find such a cool campsite today.
Isn't this awesome?
We're on the moon. Told Riley in my new hiking romper, I can kick a cougar or a bear.
I hope we don't find any bears in the Mojave Desert. Don't stick your tongue out at them.
We've never done a talking and filming before. If you guys liked it, maybe tell us below, or if you prefer we sit in chairs, or maybe you don't want to hear us talk.
It's quite the do you have.
If the GoPro didn't have a front screen, I wouldn't know how ridiculous I looked.